Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into the rhythm of water. We're going to completely demystify indoor plant care. Seriously, no more guessing, and absolutely no more stressing over rigid watering schedules. We're going to figure out exactly what your leafy friends are actually trying to tell you. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so picture this. You just brought home this gorgeous new plant. It looks absolutely perfect on day one. But a week later, the leaves are starting to droop. You panic, right? I mean, we've all been there. Your instinct instantly kicks in, you grab that watering can and you give it a good soak because, well, it feels like you're helping. But then a few days go by and it looks even worse. So what do? You water it again. It's this incredibly cruel irony. The plant looks totally thirsty, but it's actually drowning.
So that brings us to a pretty big question. Why do so many beginners lose this battle? Well, the truth might actually surprise you. Beginner plant owners rarely kill their plants by forgetting about them. That's a huge myth. They actually kill them because they water them way too much. It's basically a misplaced sense of love mixed with this rigid reliance on timing. You know, you're trying to be the best plant parent ever, but you're accidentally loving them to death. We're quite literally suffocating them with affection.
And honestly, this brings us to the absolute biggest mindset shift we need to make today. Indoor plants do not follow your calendar. They follow their environment. Once you wrap your head around that, watering becomes surprisingly simple. The worst thing you can do is ask, hey, how often should I water this? And expect a perfectly set answer. A rigid schedule, like say watering every single Tuesday, is just a recipe for disaster, because a plant's thirst is totally dynamic. The answer to how often you should water is almost always, well, it depends.
So what exactly does it depend on? Well, there are a few specific environmental variables that dictate exactly how fast a plant uses up its water. We're talking about light levels, temperature, humidity, and yeah, even the size of the pot itself. Think about it. A snake plant sitting in a bright, sun-baked room during the peak of summer, it is absolutely not going to drink water at the same speed as a peace lily tucked away in some cool, dark hallway corner. Light changes it, temperature changes it, humidity changes the whole shebang.
Let's put this into a really practical, everyday perspective. Imagine you have two identical pothos plants, literally the exact same plant. One is sitting right beside a super sunny window, and the other is chilling out in a dim hallway. That sunny one, it's going to grow fast, it's going to guzzle water, and it's going to dry out way sooner. Meanwhile, the hallway pothos is taking its sweet time. It grows slower, uses less water, and takes much longer to dry out. Same exact plant, right? But completely different watering schedules. It is all about exactly where they sit in your home.
Which leads us straight to the golden rule of plant care. Experienced plant owners, they don't wake up and ask, what day of the week is it? Instead, they ask a much better question. What does the soil say? We really need to stop asking our calendars for advice and instead tune in to the most important direct signal our plant is actively giving us. Your plant is constantly dropping clues, and the very first, absolute most reliable clue is always the soil.
Okay, so how do we actually read that signal? The method literally could not be easier. We call it the finger test. Step 1, just stick your finger about an inch or two deep right into the soil. Step 2, if it still feels damp to the touch, just wait. Seriously, back away from the watering can. Step 3, if it feels dry down there, well, it's probably time to water. This simple, super actionable little habit is going to instantly beat any complex calendar app or watering schedule you could ever try to memorize.
Now, at this point, beginners usually ask, okay, sure, but roughly how long do these plants actually go between waterings? So let me give you some solid starting points. Take your water stores, things like snake plants and ZZ plants. They usually prefer their soil to dry out a lot more, so they might go 1, maybe even 3 weeks between drinks, depending on the room. Compare that to tropicals like pothos and monsteras. They like slightly moist soil, so they might need a top-up around every week or so. And then you've got moisture lovers like peace lilies. They want water way more frequently, and trust me, they will droop incredibly dramatically when they're thirsty. But remember, guys, these are just starting points. Your specific home environment still writes the final schedule.
Let's look at another hidden factor that trips up so many people: pot size. The actual physical mechanics of your pots play a massive role here. Think about it. Small pots simply hold less soil. Less soil means less moisture, so naturally they dry out a lot faster. On the flip side, large pots contain a ton of soil, which holds onto water much longer, meaning they dry out way slower. The sheer volume of the dirt directly impacts exactly how long that moisture is going to stick around for the roots to drink up.
And hey, speaking of pots, if yours doesn't have a drainage hole, water can easily get trapped at the very bottom. And that brings us to the silent killer of the indoor garden, root rot. It happens when roots are literally starved of oxygen because of all that trapped water. I mean, roots need to breathe too. If you let water just sit and pool at the bottom of a drainage-free pot, you're basically giving your plant wet feet. And when roots stay wet for too long, they simply rot away. It's game over.
Now here is the incredibly tricky part, the cruelest paradox of plant care. Take a look at these symptoms. Yellowing leaves, drooping stems, just a generally sad, pathetic appearance. Yes, those are the classic signs of an underwatered plant. But guess what? They are also the exact same symptoms of an overwatered plant. No joke, a drowning plant looks almost identical to a thirsty one. This is exactly why people get so confused and just pour more water on top of the problem. And this is exactly why you absolutely must check the soil first before even touching that watering can.
So let's say you've done the finger test, the soil is definitely dry, and you've decided, okay, it's actually time to water. What should actually happen on watering day? Let me tell you, it is not just about splashing a cup of tap water on top and walking away. There's an actual, correct procedure to make sure your plant gets exactly what it needs without suffocating those delicate little roots we were just talking about.
Let's break down how to execute this perfectly. First off, a quick little splash just isn't going to cut it. You need to water it thoroughly, until you literally see the excess water actively draining out from the bottom of the pot. Doing this encourages really deep, healthy root growth and makes sure the entire root zone gets a drink. Step 2, let that excess water drain away completely. And step 3, this is absolutely crucial, guys. Do not leave the pot sitting in standing water for hours on end. Your plant needs a really deep drink, but it needs time to breathe right after. Just remember, nobody likes wet feet, especially not your houseplants.
Also, don't forget that the changing of the seasons drastically alters a plant's metabolism. During the spring and summer, plants are actively growing, the sun is shining, light levels are way higher, and naturally they're going to need a lot more water. But in the fall and winter, growth pretty much grinds to a halt indoors. The light is much lower, so they need significantly less frequent watering. But again, please don't just look at the calendar, say, oh, it's December, and stop watering entirely. What do? We follow the soil. The soil will always tell you the truth.
So to make all of this really stick, we're going to establish a brand new, super beginner-friendly routine. I want you to forget the apps and totally ignore those strict calendar alerts. Your new routine is based purely on physical observation. Once or twice a week, just take a casual walk around your home. Touch the soil, look closely at the leaves, literally lift the pot up if you can, because a bone-dry pot naturally feels so much lighter than a freshly watered one. We're doing no more watering by habit, just simple, mindful observation. And you know, something truly amazing happens when you adopt this observation method. You stop trying to constantly control the plant, and you actually start understanding it. Honestly, that's the core message of our explainer today. When you shift your mindset toward learning the natural rhythm of your home and the totally unique needs of the living things inside it, plant care stops feeling like this stressful, high-stakes mystery. It becomes a really enjoyable journey. You aren't forcing a perfect schedule anymore. You're finally discovering a rhythm.
Let's wrap things up with a fantastic quote from our source material. Your plants don't need perfect timing. They just need you to pay attention. I love that. Once you master this rhythm, watering stops being a chore and it actually becomes a conversation. And it really makes you wonder, if plants are communicating this clearly about their thirst, what else are they trying to tell us about the environment we share with them? Go check your soil, keep observing, and thanks so much for joining me on The Explainer.